we are the most honest place for COVID discussion, really probably just discussion in general in the country today. Buck, I'm fired up. I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to roll into the weekend, too, because I'm headed to Florida, which should be a lot of fun, even though I know that our boy Ron DeSantis is under fire in every direction. Are you ready to roll here?
I'm ready to roll. I want to know, I asked this question on Twitter. I haven't gotten any particularly compelling answers yet. What did Ron DeSantis do to Japan? Because Tokyo has reported 5,773 COVID cases in the last 24 hours. Their daily cases have topped 10,000 for more than a week. Hospitals are filling up, thousands infected, thousands more isolating at home. 36% of Japan's population fully vaccinated, by the way. So clearly it must be Ron DeSantis' fault. Whatever's happened in Japan or Indonesia or Thailand or anywhere else.
They're not wearing their masks hard enough.
They're
not
not
masking up hard enough.
That is absolutely, I've been saying for a while, if you double mask, what is the reason? What is the rationalization for not wearing goggles and or triple masking? And they just get mad at me, but I'm like, I'm sorry. I believe in the science. And by the way, Clay, these mandates that are coming to cities across the country, I got to say, months ago when things were looking a little bit better and some of the red state people were doing that, like you Nashvillians and Tennesseans doing your happy dance of freedom, I had to be that little chirping bird on the shoulder saying, hey, I know I'm in New York. I know the commies run this place and you think it's not your problem. But the commies also run the federal government and they're not done with us. And Fauciism has not been repudiated.
Spreading exponentially. Let's play for those of you who have not heard. We talked about the way the show ended yesterday. I thought pretty staggering news about New Orleans coming out and saying, because you think of New Orleans as kind of being the ultimate in fun destination place. And let's be honest, Bourbon Street is not a cleanly or very safe. Anybody who's ever been out in New Orleans, not been like, hey, I'm going to go to Mardi Gras. It seems like it's going to be really healthy. Everybody who goes to Mardi Gras comes back sick. Now you can't go to bars and restaurants or potentially to New Orleans Saints games unless you've been vaccinated. Guess what? London Breed, the mayor of San Francisco, of course, you knew it was coming. Vaccine passports, vaccine mandates to be able to go to restaurants, gyms, everywhere. Here's what she had to say about why she's doing it.
Starting August 20th, you will need proof of vaccination in businesses for your customers in high contact areas like bars, restaurants, clubs, theaters, entertainment venues, indoor gyms and fitness, and large indoor events with more than 1,000 people.
I mean, Clay, this creates the framework for them to get eventually to everyone's going to have to be vaccinated or deal with, in their minds, I'm just saying, this is the plan. Yes. Everyone's going to have to submit because otherwise, even if you think you're going to pick places, you don't know. You don't know where you're going to be, where they're going to enforce it, where they're not going to enforce it. You go out for dinner with the family. They don't care about your vaccine status, let's say. But then you want to go get ice cream afterwards. Oh, you need to have this is what we're actually facing in major cities across the country. And now you got the Biden administration threatening to come over the top. The airline said they won't require vaccination passports for everybody to fly domestically. But guess what? If the Biden administration, just like with the masks, if they say you have to provide proof of vaccination to fly domestically, now you don't know where you can go. Now you can't fly unless you're vaxxed. And they're going to find other ways, as I keep saying, to turn the screws. Man, this is happening. And I know people don't want to believe it's happening, but it is happening right now.
And we're leading the resistance, honestly, because there's very few people out there who even feel comfortable speaking out in an aggressive way. And here is one of many reasons why this is, I think, so dishonest of our government. Fauci is continuing to say that you need to get vaccinated because otherwise the vaccines, now he's starting to say, may not work. Listen to this. This was Fauci. Play cut 17, please.
That is a real possibility, Lester. We don't want to frighten the public, but we want to make sure they understand that we have 93 million people in this country who are eligible to be vaccinated, who are not vaccinated. If you allow the virus to freely, essentially roam through the vulnerable population and infect people, you give it ample opportunity to mutate, which means a person who's unvaccinated is not only putting themselves at risk, and their family, but really are putting the community at risk.
You're putting everybody at risk, Clay. You're basically a murderer if you don't want to get shots on the government say-so for the rest of your life without actually even having to have an explanation about, hey, why doesn't natural immunity count instead of this? Hey.
Well, I think that's the first part of this. It's so dishonest about Fauci. He said 93 million people are unvaccinated and potential spreaders of COVID. We don't know the exact number because our government has done a poor job of actually considering natural immunity.
They don't want to know, Clay, because that would interfere with the messaging.
And right. To their credit, England has done a good job of looking at natural immunity and vaccinated immunity and has found that around 92% of the English population has either natural or vaccinated immunity. So this 93 million number is dishonest. We know there are tens of millions. You're listening to two of them right now who have already had COVID and currently have COVID antibodies. The other thing here that's so dishonest about that argument that Fauci just made is the variants are highly unlikely to come from countries like the United States where there are lots of vaccinations. They are likely to come from places like India where there is virtually no vaccination at all, and there are way more people that are effectively petri dishes to allow these mutations to occur, which is why the southern border matters so much here, Buck, because we've got the Biden administration floating the idea that they're not going to let you go from, I don't know, Ohio to Michigan or Florida to Georgia or Arizona to New Mexico. And instead, I hope Arizona and New Mexico border each other, by the way. I think they do. But instead,
they're letting thousands of people with COVID
all across the border
and not
with
making
potentially all sorts of issues with COVID variants in countries where they're coming from, where there's virtually no vaccinations.
Yes, and what you said before about the variants coming from elsewhere in the world, it has been known for a long time that the flu generally emanates out of, that the flu variations that come from China. In large part because of the massive number of people, but also the way that human beings in very large numbers interact in very close contact with livestock there. This is how we get avian flu and swine flu,
right.
And these things tend to come out of China. But it can come anywhere. I mean, this isn't a situation where all of a sudden people get very tense about, but why do the viruses? It doesn't matter. The point is, we have a situation right now unfolding that the critics of Fauciism have said is exactly where we would be, which is that this is going to get to a place where they're going to want COVID zero. They're not going to allow for us to get back to normal life, even when deaths are down 75 or 80% from the peak, which nationwide right now in the U.S. they are. They're not going to let us get back to normal life, even when 70% of people over whatever the age is now, over 18, are vaccinated. They're not going to let us get back to normal life, and they're going to demand the perpetuation of the safetyism, Fauciite COVID state, including now vaccines. I mean, Clay, once they get the apparatus and the system in place for people to have to get booster shots, guess what, everybody? They're going to say it's preventative. And this has been my fear all along. You're going to have to get your COVID booster every season. And while you're at it, why not get the flu shot, too, and whatever else the government's going to get you? And I got to say, anyone who's been making the argument that slippery slopes are real and slippery has just been consistently right here in the face of the Fauciite madness.
Well, this goes to what now there is finally starting to be a panic, which is the vaccines wear out faster than anybody hoped the vaccines would wear out in terms of their protection. That's the reality. Now, I'm not saying that if you're over 65, you shouldn't go get the vaccine. You should, based on risk profile. But this idea that you were going to get a COVID shot and for a decade you were going to be fine and there were going to be no issues, the breakthrough cases are becoming more and more prevalent. And as those people who got the vaccines in February and March and April, as we move into fall, which is typically cold and flu season, I don't feel very good, Buck, about the idea that there are going to be way less cases as this spreads. Remember, Florida.
Wait, what are you going to do? But what are you going to do, by the way, when you have to come hang out with me in New York? We got to go out and get steaks. You know, Clay is, he likes to stay in beach fighting shape, so he's more of a fillet guy. I like the ribeyes. But what are you going to do when you come to New York?
I honestly don't know. I think it's going to be like prohibition.
I'm going to sneak you into the restaurant. We're going to have to pay them off.
I think we're going to have to say
sports.
I think we're going to have to say on the show, Buck, hey, Clay's up in town. You know, he's the unvaccinated, unwashed loser. You need to slide into our DMs if you have a restaurant that you're a big fan of the Clay and Buck show, which we know there's a lot of people in New York listening. We got some numbers.
We're going to be having burgers out at some Irish pub in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I know where this is going to happen. We're going to find a great Italian
go out
place
in Staten Island.
In the Bronx, Staten Island. That's right. We're Manhattan, my friend. You are going to be persona non grata without that shop. But let's come back into this, and then also, I mean, you did a great job teeing up some of the other huge stuff happening today. We've got Afghanistan. People are reaching out to me, and they're you know, like as though there's anything that you can really look at this and say other than this is an abject catastrophe. It is a cluster bomb, you could say.
Yes, you said we tried our conversations earlier. Yeah. You said there's another cluster word that perfectly personifies this, but we can't say on the radio. Welcome back in. Clay Travis, Buck Sexton. We're talking about COVID madness spreading like a plague. New Orleans, this has just come out here in short order. New Orleans. Think of all the cities out there that embrace, I would say, poor life choices. You never come back from New Orleans.
I think this is being a little harsh.
I love New Orleans.
It's a great town with amazing food.
But no, it's like Vegas. Nobody leaves New Orleans or Vegas, typically, and thinks, you know what? I'm way healthier leaving this city than I was when I arrived. And I love New Orleans. I've done the doubleheader in New Orleans a lot for going to LSU football games. You go into New Orleans, you make the drive to Baton Rouge. New Orleans is one of my favorite cities. I love Vegas, too, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, they don't make you drink until you puke and then go to, you know, like exotic dance clubs afterwards. Like, you could just go to the city, enjoy good food.
Do you know who you're talking to?
No, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, like, you can.
If you offer those options to me, it's hard for me to say no, Buck. Here's what New Orleans now requires. Proof of vaccines or a negative COVID test in order to enter bars and restaurants, music and event spaces, gyms and fitness centers, stadiums and sports complexes, casinos and racetracks, basically in order to go into almost any business. They've left out, I guess, gas stations and grocery stores, but virtually everywhere else you either have to have proof that you got a vaccine or a negative COVID test, by the way, from the last 72 hours, which means you're constantly, Clay, like that would mean if you're not vaccinated, you got to get multiple COVID tests a week.
They are barring people from participation in public life in this country. That is what they are doing. They are doing it now in the largest city in America, and now many of the dominoes are falling. This is actually happening right now. This is actually where we are, and people need to understand. L.A., give it, I would even say maybe over the course of the show today, Clay, we'll have an update on L.A. because they're just figuring out how this is now about the messaging and how they roll these things out. People who go to Stanford University right now,
yes,
grad school students, undergrad, have to be, same thing at Duke University, I just spoke to someone about this, have to be vaccinated and get a weekly COVID test.
I know.
This is completely insane, and I think it's important for us all to remind everybody that if these rules that are now being foisted on us, if they made this pitch a year ago, if they said this going into the election, people would have said, a lot more people, not all of them, obviously there are some lunatic libs with, you know, emotional and psychological problems as a result of COVID, lots of them. But people would have said, Clay, the Democrat Party is completely out of its mind right now.
Yes.
Like the persuadables would have said, there's no way. Come on. You're going to get a vaccine that you tell us is 90% effective. You're going to mandate the vaccine, and you're going to mandate testing weekly for people who have the vaccine. I mean, how much crazier is this going to get? You look at Australia and realize it could get even crazier. This is why we have to stop this nonsense.
We have to. And also, this is super racist, by the way. These cities, which have large black populations and Hispanic populations, they are basically saying to their black and Hispanic populations, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't go to a sports bar, you can't go to a sports venue. This is madness on an epic level.
You know what the percentage is, Clay, of black New Yorkers where we already have the mandate going into effect next week? As I've been telling you all, I got no choice because I got to go to a wedding. So this is the world that we live in now. 18 to 44 years old, black New Yorkers, 28% of them vaccinated. 28%.
So you're telling 72% right now of black New Yorkers you can't go to a restaurant, you can't go to a gym. I mean, this is a real deal that nobody's talking about.